What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Endless Sparkles on Minor Evac. Brian, let's hear the mutation.
Minor Evac is the map where we have to fight our way to the evac ships, and defend them from the infested as they launch. We have to successfully defend 5 ships to win. On brutal difficulty, we lose the game if we lose more than 1 ship. Enemies explode and spawn doodlings upon death. They doodlings also explode.
Alright, so we have Tutu and Sticksbender on the call with us today. How are you guys?
Great.
Good.
Totally take one. Tutu, how are we going to rank the commanders this week?
Commanders are either really good or really bad. Those that can deal with an extraordinarily large number of broodlings and the explosions will be fine. They'll just play this like a normal minor evac. Those who cannot deal with them will struggle a lot because the explosions add up.
Sure.
One thing to note is that the broodlings hurt more than the regular infested, excluding the volatile and the aberration.
Interesting.
I mean, they hurt more than the civilian and the marine.
Yeah, those things look like they bite.
Yeah, anyways. So yeah, that's it.
How about you, Sticksbender?
So yeah, the broodlings do actually have more damage than the standard infested, although to be fair, the aberrations and banshees were already most of the damage anyways.
Mostly.
And it's basically going to be a lot more of what you already needed for this map, which is hit scan, high DPS, so you can actually kill things before they can impact you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
Oh man, Abathur. You need to get an early brutalist so that you can cleave the broodlings. But the
Doodlings.
brutalists don't life leech, so
Oh, yeah.
they gotta keep moving around. It's like they can walk over the broodlings, so it's nice. You can like cleave and then walk away from the explosions, but you gotta keep doing that. Later on, you gotta use Vipers. You just have to use Vipers to Blinding Cloud because there are gonna be so many broodlings, and AoE is not really good. Like you can use Ravagers, but they're gonna get surrounded, and his AoE is normally the Brutalist, but they're gonna suffer a lot of explosions. I don't know if Mass Mutalist does well because they're gonna get
Clump up.
splashed
Yep.
unless you keep microing, and
Yes.
it's really hard. I put Abathur in D.
Interesting. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, I kind of don't see any way Abathur's particularly better than that. Yeah.
Alright.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. The splash damage situation for Abathur is like you have brutalisks, and in general, you don't really have a backup plan past brutalisks. It's just really painful when you can't use brutalisks as your entire splash damage.
I guess that's fair. I initially had Abathur in C, but if both of you say D, I don't have problems with that. A slight note for the guys watching. This is assuming that you have to hard carry a very weak ally, not 2 equal players contributing. If it's 2 players contributing, any of these 2 commanders will be absolutely fine. Abathur's in D because when you have to carry a really weak commander or a really weak ally, Abathur's sort of not the best among these commanders. Let's continue. Alarak, where do we have him?
I'm not sure Abathur's going to even have an easy time pulling his own weight, but anyways. Alarak should be fine, totally fine. He can yeet the enemies away with Alarak, so he doesn't have to worry about them exploding on your face. He has hit scan and splash damage in the form of Mothership and Destroyers. As long as you have P3, it's easy and should steamroll. If you don't have P3, you will have to use Ascendance and break your finger spamming Psyorb, but it should still be pretty easy.
Yeah,
It's just
break your fingers. Easy.
It's just okay. Come on, you know that's an exaggeration.
I know.
It's slightly more. It's slightly more labor-intensive deletion.
So, letter.
I feel like he should be A, maybe even S tier P3, but not quite because
I had him in S.
his units are pretty fragile. So like, if you do completely screw it up, I guess you could die due to things going wrong. But you probably should. Win.
Fair. How about you, Tutu?
He's good. One thing to note is that when you kill a bunch of stuff, the broodlings will surround him. So you want to keep Alarak away from the rest of your army and wait for the cooldown of the destruction wave so you can kill all of the broodlings the second time. As long as you have like supplicants nearby that can beat him, doesn't matter if Alarak takes a lot of damage from explosions. In the late game, with enough destroyers, nothing gets close. They just all die. So until then, in the earlier game, it's a little bit like you gotta be careful with your units. If you F2 to move around, stuff might get exploded.
Oh yeah.
They might die to self-destruction. But overall, he has lots of good AoE, so I put him in A.
Alright, I had him in S, but both of you say A, so we'll have an A. Arcturus, where do we have him?
Next areas are not heavily defended, but you can clear them with ESOs and from the natural natural, clear pretty much all of them, and then just stay at the natural, and the broodlings will die because they'll trickle in.
Yeah, you have bunkers at your ramps.
Yes, and then once you do that, you to defend the ships, you have 6. As long as you have 6 or more bunkers, you don't need the fire troopers. Actually, I just use the regular guns.
Not
As
even
long
the
as you
blue
have
guns?
6 yeah, blue guns.
Oh, blue guns.
Not
All right.
the
Not the red guns.
That's not the no guns.
Not the no
or
guns.
whatever. As long as you have them armed with the blue guns, 6+ bunkers full of them, nothing gets through. So
Nice.
you just have like a missile turret or something to spot the banshees, and then everything else will just die. So I put him in S.
Nice. How about you, Stixbender?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. He has really good bunkers, and yeah, S makes sense from.
All right. I had him in A,
Oh, yeah,
but
he
both
is,
we
yeah.
say S, so S it is. Without prestige, still S.
Yeah,
I would
think so.
say so. You can still get that many bunkers.
All right. Artanis, where do we have him?
Right, me. Sorry. Artanis is. Well, on paper he should be fine. In practice, yeah, no. Basically, you, as I mentioned, you need hit scan. Well, that would normally be immortals, which aren't exactly great here for the broodling swarm. So it's basically just going to be complete size storm party, which he can do. That's the one that's actually going to be extremely APM intensive.
Yes.
As opposed to reasonable. So you should probably expect that it's going to be really painful trying to do it with Artanis, because it's basically going to have to be using a Cyberdeus core wall to pin enemies into walking into a funnel, and then you storm the funnel repeatedly.
And then the doodlings explode on your wall, on your cybercore wall, and then the cybercores die.
Yeah, and then the wall becomes wider, so you have to storm a wider area.
Yikes.
The point is you just keep clicking storm. I'd still say it's probably better than Abathur.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think so, but you're entitled to your opinion. What letter do you have him in?
C.
How about you, Tutu?
Oh, Artanis is terrible. He's so bad. If you storm, you're gonna run out of storms. Because you're gonna keep storming, but you're gonna have no more energy to storm. So my main defense was actually the Unbound Fanatics.
Ah, the Archon dudes.
Fanatics can take a beating. Like they pretty much don't die because of life. They die because they time out. So you just drop 1 or 2 at a time in key places, and all the broodlings will go there.
They'll absorb
and,
all the doodlings.
Absorb. I used Tempest. So I finished the solo just this afternoon. So it was I used mainly Tempest, and the broodlings chase a zealot. So I built a zealot. They chase the zealot to stall time while the Tempest shoot the marines, and then you keep repeating.
How do you make the zealot run around while being in Archon dude mode?
Oh, no, I'm not using Archon dudes at that time.
Okay.
So it's like when the zealots are out, then I drop Archon dudes. You need something on the ground to lure the broodlings away. So if you don't have anything on the ground to lure them away, then they will hit the ship.
That sounds extremely funky.
Yeah, it's. I had to plan everything, like all the usages of everything, and I even had to like build cyber cores in places where they shouldn't be, so that the enemies would go there instead of the ship. It is
a thing.
He's much harder than Abathur, because Abathur at least has Vipers. I put Artanis in E.
I actually thought E as well. Are you convinced, Xbender?
Yeah, I forgot about Vipers. Otherwise, I was actually thinking, wait, maybe we put Abathur too high. Yeah, no, Vipers exist. Yeah, okay.
Dehaka.
Easy. You make you summon like several thousand HP pack leader to take damage, tank, and mask lots of guardians, and that's it. And you have lots of minerals, so you make primal worms to also defend the ship so that the ship doesn't get hurt.
And detection.
The explosions from the broodlings don't damage the ship, so
nice.
That's good to know.
That is good to know.
I put Dehaka in S.
All right, fair. How about you, Stixbender?
That's pretty much what I'd expect from Dehaka and his wall of flesh.
Wall of flesh. Wall of Zerg. There we go.
Yes, wall of better Zerg.
Wall of better Zerg. Phoenix, where do we have him?
Phoenix is interesting. He has splash damage. It's not exactly hit scan. It's Colossi usually. And you can throw Caldalises as, your meat shield to keep broodlings away from your army. It should be fine, I think. Not like the most steamroller, but good enough for just winning, I would think.
It'll do.
So I would think he should be like A.
A? All right. How about you, Tutu?
I used P2, and I did what I normally would do with P2 on this map, which is I have a pylon or a conservator at the ship to put all the gateway shells, and then I put the robo and Stargate shells
Just
like
outside the spawn
nearby.
points. Yeah.
Yeah, nearby, but not like
In combat
not
range.
not in combat range. So you basically just keep you die more than usual, but you can at least like kill the stuff.
Conservatives are really
So,
good, but
yeah, but there's a lot of losses. So if your macro slips and you don't have like a Caldalis in the front, oh man, the ship is gonna die pretty fast. Or if they get too close to your shell farm, the gateway shell farm, which is near the ship. So I put Phoenix in B.
I also had Phoenix in B because the conservators are good, but explosions actually do stack up over time. And I don't think
I was kind of thinking B as
yeah,
well.
I don't think he's quite at Alarak's level. I thought Alarak was really good, but okay, we all agree with B in the end, so that's all that matters. Han and Horner, where do we have them?
Oh man, yeah, another. Oh man, this one.
Is it E
This
or
one
F?
was the hardest one for me. I did like 50 attempts or something before I finally got it. It took a long time. What do you use? You use Hellbats and Fear, basically. It's just and you use the galleons. They use the galleons to stall, and then you send in Hellbats one at a time so that they fear stuff and stall time. Because the goal is not to kill everything. The goal is just to not
Survive.
die. And
Makes sense.
You'll definitely need the space. The space station is super good because it's a building, so it draws all the broodlings away. And calling the fleet sucks. It's there, but it sucks. There's one there's one unit that I don't think I've ever used before, but I had to use, which is a grounded Viking.
Yeah, Viking.
Even as P1, I had to get like 8 of them and try to keep them alive. So when they're about to die, I have to lift them up. It was very, very painful. The galleons, they're not kept above the ship. They're kept around the edges so that they don't take much self-destruct damage. And the Hellbats will drop out like one at a time, and then you don't use F2. You have to like drag click a Hellbat and send them into the combat. With all that, they are E because it's not like
they don't help
negative.
Amon.
They still do something, but
yes,
not
a lot.
Not a lot.
How about you, Sixpender?
I guess that's justification for them to be E. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
not F. What do you
They're
guys?
Not actively helping. Amon.
Yeah, they're actively helping Amon. So E. How do you guys feel about using that bug where you get the Vikings to have like infinite health by using the Mirahan units? That would work, right?
Technically, it would work. You could just cheat.
You could just cheat. I love minor evac. Oh man.
It's
not minor evac specific. It's Han and Horner being.
Oh yeah. But it's it's Doodlings, but there's nothing that targets the ship specifically. So technically, you just have those Vikings sit there. Anyway, yeah, you can technically do that if you only have Han and Horner. Also for Abathur, if you only have Abathur, you can always abduct the ship. Karax, where do we have him?
I did this one with Karax, and I used lots of cybernetics cores and P3, and it was basically just, have fun nibbling my wall of cybernetics cores and shield batteries. I will solar lance you, and that just worked. So presumably, it's just a matter of putting enough hit points on the board. I did also have Colossi on later ships to add extra DPS. Yeah, I would say you're probably just going to want to use buildings, use cyber cores, because the main purpose of your buildings, even more so than usual, and it's already the case usually, is just to put health in front of the ship. And then your best damage to rip through the infested is going to be Colossi and top bar.
If that is your solution, why not first prestige, Architect of War?
Because then you have less dabblage.
Okay.
And the increased hit points is it's something. I don't think it's necessarily going to be
game changing.
Much better. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be game changing the same way half cooldown Solar Lance is.
All right.
Like I think the entire prestige put together is less useful than half cooldown Solar Lance. But you could use it.
What?
Especially if you don't own P3, then that would be a good reason to use P1, and it should work fine.
What letter?
Strong, lots of manual action, somewhere in the A or B range.
A or B range. How about you, Tutu?
I initially put him in B, but I used P1 and P2. I did not use P3. And I think if you're not sure how to place buildings, or like if you're not used to it, your cannons get surrounded. The earlier ships, at least. The later ones you have time, but at least the first ship, you might lose stuff because your stuff gets surrounded.
There.
With P2, your colossi are fine until they get like surrounded, and then too many explosions. I put him in B, but I think there's an argument for A because I think the cyber core wall plus solar lance with fire, it's gonna work really well.
Yeah, I also think B, but there might be a fringe argument for A because the things you mentioned, but also because if you have an ally, you're gonna help with the chrono boost, repair beam, unity barrier, all that good stuff. But I still think he's initially B. What do you think, Six Bender? Do we push him all the way to A?
Nah, I don't think. If you guys aren't convinced on A, as I said, lots of manual action. So
Yeah. All right, B it is. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan is really good, so you can make lots of Omega Worms to
Oh my god.
draw the infested away from the ships. Usually if they have something to hit that's not the ship, they'll hit that first. So as long as you have something for them to hit, they'll hit that. And if you mass a ton of lurkers but put them away from the path of the Omega Worms or the ship, then your stuff will avoid explosions and you can pretty much kill everything. You probably want extra queens for healing. Aside from that, it's just it's pretty easy. So I used P2, but I think you can use any prestige. So I put her in A.
Why not S? Because
if you mess up, you're gonna die.
Okay.
If you put your lurkers in the wrong position, they're gonna die.
All right. So lurkers are not directly behind the Omega Worms; they're off to the side so that they don't get targeted.
Yes,
Perfect.
They're off to the sides, and they're like a few spaces away from the ships, so that even if if the Broodlings head directly to the ships, they won't touch the lurkers. But it's if you don't place them correctly, then your stuff's gonna die.
How about you, Sixbender?
Yeah, it's literally just a lurker placement game.
All right.
So yeah.
So letter.
So I mean, I don't think I would push for S. So yeah, I'd literally just stick with what Tutu said.
A Nova. Where do we have him?
Nova has a shotgun.
Oh yeah, that works.
That's her primary defining factor in this ordeal. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna have a hero unit who's going to be able to tank for the ship reasonably well because she can delete broodlings very easily. She can blink out of explosions. She has lots of shields.
She does defensive drone.
Yeah, and she has defensive drone. She just can tank it well. And then behind that, you just can stick a bunch of air units over the ship or siege tanks, which probably would be better. Probably use siege tanks. And then, siege tanks explode everything, and it should be pretty easy. I think she could be S, to be honest.
For some reason, I think Liberators could be even better than siege tanks. I can't quite explain it, but I generally feel better using Liberators instead of siege tanks on this map. Could it be because the enemies don't quite clump up hard enough that the siege tank splash doesn't actually kill enough of them, and that the Liberator rate of fire, just the faster rate of fire from the Liberators, makes them more effective at killing stuff? Or is it just some sort of placebo effect? Because I like Liberators.
The Liberators already are a pretty tight contender with tanks, even when there's splash damage involved, because co-op tanks are bad. I feel like siege tanks give more buffer mostly because they can just spit spider mines out.
Oh yeah, spider
if
mines.
Things get too close to the ship. You don't die. You just have spider mines blow your problem up.
How about you, Tutu?
I don't think tanks are good because they might die, whereas air units, they just stay in areas where the infested can't reach. Throw a bunch of Raven turrets on the ground, and if you use P1, you have tons of those. So
several tons.
And you have Nova on the ground as well, so they won't hit the ship.
You can even have the whole decoy.
Yeah, she doesn't do much. It's not the explosions aren't a problem for her at all. So I put her in A, but I think S. If you both want S, I think I'm fine with that.
She certainly feels like an S to me because she has an answer to everything, and also she can even get to places that's under attack. You know those when you start ships too early, the enemy will sometimes send transports to attack the next ship. With Griffin Airlift, you can get there really fast. Also, defensive drone even helps your ally. So I would think that Nova feels like an S. Maybe it's just me. Maybe what we should do is compare Nova to Alarak. Does Nova feel significantly better than Alarak or not?
Alarak can, but but can help her ally in a meaningful way because defensive drone and
Oh, yeah.
healing and airlift.
Airlift.
Literally Alarak that can help her ally in a meaningful way.
And the cooldown of the shotgun blast is shorter than the distraction wave, I think. Am I wrong? I think it's shorter.
Yes.
You could like have charges too, right? No.
Yeah,
that's
it's
not it.
energy based. It's not
It's energy.
cooldown
Yes,
based.
it's
That's
energy
why.
based. Yeah, so I do think that Nova does feel more S than does Alarak. So that's why I feel that Nova can be S. Maybe not top S, but definitely I feel like she feels like an S commander.
Okay.
All right,
yeah.
there you have it.
With P1, I guess. With
I think
not P1, I don't. You
because
have
she
fewer
doesn't have
liberators. I guess.
fewer
You
Robin
have fewer
turrets.
Raven dudes.
Yeah,
I guess you can use tanks.
I guess you can use tanks. All right, Raynor, where do we have him?
Raynor is good on this map. Like, Raynor P1 is good on this map.
Ooh,
And
spicy.
because
Firebutts?
there isn't that much space. So also the explosions, how much they do? 20. But if you have 90 HP Marines, you can kind of get hit but not die.
Forget the
even
Marines.
Though you can dodge.
Firebutts have 460.
Yeah, I didn't build Firebat for this one.
Really?
I built a Firebat by accident. But the rest I built because if you have a densely packed clump of Marines, nothing gets close. And you stim, everything just dies, including the Broodlings that come out of the things that you kill.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, and I don't recall having trouble with any of the ships. I put them in A.
That's higher than I thought. How about you,
Because
Sixbender?
once you have a big enough, even in the beginning, you have call downs, and then later on, your army just gets really big. And then when it's big enough, nothing gets through.
All right, how about you, Sixbender?
Literally, the fact that you managed to do this with P1, despite being P1, it is not because of being P1, but despite being P1, and yet it makes sense because Marines are really good. I would say you can use Marines. You can add tanks later for extra supporting like splash damage against the Broodlings. That's long range and keeps them off of your Marines' faces. A densely tight ball of hit scan kind of just works. Remember, I mentioned high damage and hit scan was what you wanted for this map in general, but especially for this mutation. The Marines' existence solves that problem. So yeah, Jimmy is definitely an A tier.
All right, I had him in B, but both of you say A, so we'll have an A. Statboy, where do we have him?
You put Ultralists in front of the problem. The Ultralists unlearn die, and then you win the game.
Yes.
It's at S tier. It's very simple. Gary kills everything. Ultralists unlearn die. You win.
How about you, Tutu?
The green zone heals 16 HP a second. The damage is like 20. So yeah, if you don't want to use ultras, you can use lurkers, and same thing as Kerrigan. Basically,
Why would you not want to use units that can kill the banshees? Anyway,
Gary kills the banshees.
That's true. Gary kills it, but also the ultras kill the banshees.
Yes. Yeah, S is it's S.
Definitely S for me too. Easy S. Stukov, where do we have him?
It's like Phoenix P2, where your units are coming from somewhere that's not the ship. So later on, you're gonna need a lot of tanks if you're using P3. If you're using P1, you're probably gonna get lots of tanks too.
Yeah.
So that takes time to set up. Earlier on, you're infested. You're gonna rely on your call downs to survive. And then once you have enough hit scan Marines, then you will do well. But until then, the explosions add up. I put them in B.
All right, I can see that. How about you, Stixbender?
To be honest, I'd even have it considered C, but I'm not convinced of C, so yeah, B makes sense. Obviously, all the same reasons.
All right. I had him in C, but yeah, both of you say B, so. All right, Swann, where do we have him?
Swann is going to make buildings, and he is going to make tanks behind those buildings eventually, but for the most part, it is just turrets shred everything. You can use factory walls as well if you want. You actually don't have to. Flaming Betties are very tanky, and Broodlings should, under no circumstances, successfully touch you, because Flaming Betties just shred them instantaneously, assuming you have upgrades for them and like any density of them at all.
Flaming Betties are very fire.
Yes, indeed they are. Summarily, Swann is good and should just be completely fine.
Letter.
I'm thinking whether he should actually be have an argument for bottom of S tier.
Oh, that's higher than what I had him. I had him in A. How about you, Tutu?
I put him in S, just
all right.
before I say anything. He's an S for me because The only thing you do differently is you put factories in front of the flaming betties so that they survive much longer. And then your tanks, and yeah, same thing as what Stetmann said. You just put tanks later, you add tanks later on, but you just defend with buildings. And the good AoE makes it so that you kill everything, and you use your warbots to clear the next area instead of defending. Use them to clear areas because they do a pretty good job at that.
All right, I'm okay with that. S tier for Swann. Nice. I love that. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus, I used P1 because I didn't have P3 when I played this. But I think P3,
Dogwalker?
P3 is better.
Yeah, Dogwalker
P3 is better. Yeah, and P3 with a healing station, the rattlesnake healing station, he just doesn't
Never
die,
dies.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
So much HE. So he will take one side, and then the other outlaws will take another side, and they're usually not too far from each other, so you can like throw turrets for both sides. And serious turrets are really tanky later on, and they can explode. I put Tychus in A.
All right, how about you, Sixbender?
Yeah, that makes sense. Tychus just has enough raw strength to just be an A because he just tanks and kills well enough.
All right. I was actually considering that he might have an argument for S, but both of you say A, so we'll have an A.
Yeah.
Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun. You use a invisible wall. Amon forgets C. You win.
Unless your ally screws it up.
Yes.
Starts killing stuff in front of your wall, then explosions ensue, then there's a breach, and then they're in.
Your wall is your wall should be tanky. If it isn't tanky, you should have made
your wall is wrong.
Or more buildings. If your wall blows up, yes, the first wall blew up, but what about second wall?
Hey, I know that reference.
Yeah,
ladder.
You make wall layers of wall. You build corsairs and or void rays because disruption web can basically compel enemies, even if there is detection, to say no. Just because you can see the wall doesn't mean you're permitted to damage it.
All right.
Come on now, that's not allowed. That's against the rules.
Letter.
I feel like she could probably be B tier. It's like
Vorazun?
with conventional methods, she's got nothing, but she can just so easily just kind of catch Amon on the fact that he doesn't like using eyeballs on this map.
All right, I can see that. Tutu, where wall you put Vorazun?
I feel like this one is a particular one where your ally can definitely screw up your wall.
What I said.
So it's like, because normally if you have a wall and your ally starts killing the stuff outside the wall, it doesn't damage it. It's fine. But here, the explosions will destroy the wall. And Broodlings, sometimes they will spawn past the building, so they'll spawn on the inside. And they can, if you don't have anything there, they'll touch your dark pylon. So
you don't have the second wall.
You probably want to like surround the dark pylon with some cannons so that they'll kill the stuff that get past the wall.
But won't the cannons just shoot the stuff outside the wall, or do you need to make sure they're out of range? All right.
Yeah, it doesn't shoot that far. Also, I dumped the stasis wards in case they get in, and I had corsairs. So oracles and corsairs are great because they don't fight anything unless you want them to, and you need to kill the banshees.
All right.
Void rays, I don't know how good mass void rays would be, like just a huge number of void rays. I don't know how good that would be because that's still hit scan, but that takes a long time to get.
Yeah, I feel like they're just about as good as destroyers. I think so, at least.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
They cost twice as much, and they don't have splash.
The splash of the destroyers is kind of minimal. I've actually tested the numbers there. The splash, the glaives barely deal anything, but fair point. So where do you have them?
I feel like if you play with a random ally, your wall's gonna get messed with. And I don't think she has very good tools if your wall's like breached.
Yes.
If they get close.
I agree with that.
And so I put her in D, but I think C is okay, but not B.
What do you think, Stixbender? Are you gonna fight for B?
I think you are highly overestimating how much damage is possible to be done to the walls with self-destruct alone. It is not that much.
Have you we should probably simulate this.
Yes.
How much damage?
I think this is something that has to be
tested.
I think this is something that has to be test run.
Probably.
But I'm pretty sure the walls can't take that much damage, even if you're killing literally everything. I think if you have just a full like ball of Corsair, Void Ray, Oracle, and you have stasis wards, disruptive webs, and Void Rays shooting things, it should be fine.
I played with no ally. I'm killing my own stuff, and they still get through.
Oh, then I would say that counts as a test.
I mean, but this was toward the later ships. The earlier ones they don't. The later ones they do.
Then that
Like there's so many explosions.
if it does work in theory, then I think D might be off the table. If it does work in the early game, because if it works up until the last ship, I don't think that's quite bad enough for D, right? Maybe C.
Yeah, that's why I maybe D is low, but I don't think she's like at the same level as
She's not dreadful.
Phoenix or whatever.
What do you think, Sixbender? Are you okay with C?
Yeah.
Can you see the point?
Okay, we can put her in C.
All right.
Like you would have to be the absolute worst because, like, worst case scenario, she uses her Protoss Vipers.
All right. So I'm glad we're able to see eye to eye on this. Zagara, where do we have him? F.
Oh my gosh. This
F.
this one was easier than Han Horner.
Oh wow.
This was definitely easier than Han Horner. But
Okay. Not expect that.
I forgot what I did. It was
Cheap.
I remember suffering a lot because there was a lot of hatcheries in the middle of the map to like lure them away. Plus,
Oh, were you injecting with queens, or were you transfusing with queens?
no queens, no queens.
All right.
You just I think you have to watch my run to have it make sense. But basically, like there are funnels with it's like the hatcheries. Between the hatcheries, there are two
There are
spaces,
gaps,
and you
yeah.
put like a line of spine crawlers.
I can
to funnel
visualize
them
that.
through the middle.
I can
And then-
visualize that. Yeah.
And then you have your bio launchers target the spaces
funnel.
between the
So
funnel, so you don't have to like manually retarget until they get too close.
so basically,
And
you
kinda
create
just
a
stall.
you basically create a kill zone, a corridor where the infested all walk through, and you shoot your bio launchers at that kill zone.
Yes.
Okay, so
but you do that for like all like you spread your bio launchers like across the entire area of the ship, so your ally has no space to do anything.
I feel like that
And that's
only
to-
works if you're
that's only to barely
soloing.
survive.
Yeah, I feel like that only works if your
So-
allies letting you solo with any help. I feel like your ally would just flat out outdo you. I'm afraid.
For quick reference, at 26 minutes, I have 92 supply, 2,000. At the end of the game, at 30 minutes, I have 38 supply, which is basically all my drones, and no minerals, barely like 100 minerals left.
That's insane. Okay,
74 minerals at the end, and just like barely.
and this was easier than Han and Horner.
Yes. Yes.
How painful does it have to be? Okay, is she higher than Han and Horner here?
No.
All right.
But among the E's, yes.
Among
Yeah,
the
among
E's.
the E's, yes. She should slide right between Artanis and Han Horner, I would think.
All right.
Yes.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
These guys are anything but easy. How about you, Suspender? Also E, or do you think F?
Yeah.
I think
No,
F,
no,
but
I-
oh well.
No, I think if she's F, then Han and Horner is F.
Good point. Zeratul, where do we have him?
And I tried Han and Horner, by the way.
Zeratul, where do we have him?
Over on the opposite side of the spectrum, you make buildings. Those buildings have suns, and everything just works.
Did you? Yeah, you can also trap the fragment here.
Yeah, you can trap the fragment here.
Yeah.
You can also make large numbers of disruptors, and yeah, I don't think he's as, but I think that basically disruptors and cannons and Zeratul with good micro should be able to handle things.
Okay. How about you, Tutu? Did you
Good.
mind?
Good Zeratul micro or good disruptor micro?
Yes.
Zeratul micro, obviously.
Okay.
The disruptors you just leave on autopilot. If you try to micro disruptors, you will make it worse.
Yeah. Okay.
Disruptors.
So
Oh, letter.
I did artifact trap
Yeah.
with mass shield guard plus disruptor and cyber core walls
That's
to
funky.
funnel them. And I got the what was that, steadfast reinforcements, the plus 50% duration.
Yeah.
So that means the
Telebrus Legion.
avatar
Oh.
lasts for like 1.5 minutes.
Oh, that sounds really nice.
And yeah, the Telbrus Legion, they're gonna die, but later on they're still really strong. So you summon them, they do a lot of damage, and then they get exploded. Maybe later on with like 7-8 artifact fragments, they're just super strong. And the avatar makes that your dudes, they get damage reduction, right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Was
I
it?
put
Was it?
Zeratul in S, but it's kind of planning, I guess. So A makes sense. A lot of planning and
Yeah. Whenever I hear cybercar walls, shield guards, disruptors, yeah, it doesn't sound like an S to me. But what do you think,
shield guards
Suspender?
and shield guards and abrogators, they
Yeah.
don't do anything. They just come out of the void array and sit there.
They're just show that you're macroing. How about you, Suspender? Do you think it's an S sounding strategy?
No, I don't think so. I think that I think that too much can go wrong with self-destruct and Abathur, honestly.
I can see
Or
that.
not Abathur, Zeratul.
All right.
The person we're talking about. That one. Yes, that guy.
Zeratul. Okay, so that is everyone in their tiers. Who's the best among the S? Stat boy.
Batman.
Stat boy, come on.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
What? You think someone else? You think Dehaka?
no, yeah, it's Stetmann. It's Stetmann. It's got to be Stetmann, honestly.
Of course. Who
it
else?
no, because 16 versus 20 is like, yeah, you're just healing all the damage you kind of take. 20 is not lethal damage most of the time, and it just heals up in a second, 1 point something seconds, right?
You just leech the remainder off the Banshees.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Yeah,
best?
and also remember they have 25% damage reduction from all sources permanently, just for existing.
Oh yeah.
Can't
Oh yeah,
forget
that's an upgrade.
That just is a thing that exists.
So instead of 20 damage, you actually take 16. So that's exactly, yeah, you actually net 0 in case you explode once per second. Who's next? Dehaka or Arcturus?
Dehaka's clearing is easier.
I think.
Arcturus defense could be better because bunkers good. You can repair them.
I guess you pick up the trickles more easily.
Yeah.
All right, so Arcturus next.
Yeah.
I think Arcturus carries easier. Dehaka is only easier because just the sentence Dehaka is easier is generally applicable.
That's true. Okay, so who's next? Dehaka or Nova or Swann? Swann's playing
think
berries. I feel like they're.
Yeah.
Swann seems like bottom because he has to do stuff, but
Alright.
it's really good.
All right, fair. Still S. So is it correctly ordered already?
I think it's Stetmann, Manx, Dehaka, Nova, Swann.
Yeah, it's correctly ordered. Okay, let's move on. Who's the best among the A?
Tychus.
Tychus? Yeah, I think.
Tychus, Alarak, or Kerrigan. Right?
Let's see. I think Kerrigan goes first, and then I'm gonna be honest. I actually thought Jimmy was next.
Really? I think
Yeah.
Alarak has a good case because of how little you need to actually get going. With just the mothership, the overcharge, and the throwback boy, you can do a lot.
Yes, you do.
first
But
ship
here's
is easy
the first ship is easy.
for Alarak.
Yeah, the first ship is easy. Basically, it's a difference between the first ship is just downright easy versus with Jimmy versus Alarak. Alarak has to micro here. Jimmy just presses hold position and presses the stim key every like 15 seconds and wins.
I kind of have to try the bio thing on Raynor. I haven't done that, so I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I can...
well, you might. No, I guess you would also probably have to hold the build marine key. So I guess Alarak can go ahead of Raynor.
Okay, so who's top? Kerrigan?
Kerrigan.
All right, then Alarak, then Raynor,
Yeah.
then Zeratul or Tychus?
I think Tychus.
Tychus. All right, so Kerrigan, Alarak, Raynor, Tychus, Zeratul. Wow, Raynor higher than Tychus and Zeratul. Where do you see that happening? Who's top?
Zeratul kind of hard. It's hard for him to defend the first ship.
Ah, that's fair. Because Broodlings.
I think I sacrificed it because it's just like you got nothing that early.
Fair. Who's top of B? Karax?
Karax.
And then Fenix?
Yeah.
And then Stukov. All right. C is just Vorazun. D is just Abathur. Who's top of E?
It's Artanis, Zagara, Han, and Horner. Is very clearly that order.
You think it too?
Yes.
Artanis, Zagara, Han, and Horner? All right.
Yes.
So that is the rankings. How about synergies? Anyone from B down to E? Can any two of them combine to match the ease with which you can beat us with an S tier?
Stuff together Vorazun and Karax, and the wall no longer dies.
Oh yeah, the wall no longer dies. It's cloaked. It has shield batteries. It has repair beam.
Repair beam. Yes.
Oh yeah, you can even time stop. Yeah, I like that. Vorazun and Karax.
You could also stuff Vorazun with literally any Terran and they could repair the wall, but that would require your ally to, be on board anyways. So at that point, the problem with Vorazun disappears, the thing that kept her down in the first place.
It's not
just
even just Terran, because the only Terran from B down to E is Han and Horner.
What do you mean? Stukov exists.
No.
He's got
Stukov
SCVs.
is a Zerg. Stukov is a Zerg.
The only requirement to be Terran in this situation is that you have SCVs. So he is Terran in this case.
All right. Also, who else? Does Abathur synergize with anyone? Don't.
Abathur synergizes with skill.
Skill. if you really like cheesing, you can have Han and Horner's Vikings with the bug, and you can have Abathur's abduct, and you can have the mightiest cheese of all time on this map. Anyway.
Honestly, I think those cheeses have anti-synergy with each other.
Really? You can just pull all the ships to the base, and then you can just have like a couple of Vikings on the main ramp. Anyway, that's just being silly. So that is this week's tier list. Watch Tutu and Stickbander's channels. I will link them down below, and I will see you guys next time.